every drop of water in our bodies has been all over the planet. It's been through everybody. It's been through Genghis Khan, Jesus, you name it. That water's recycled. It hasn't left our system, but it's gone through us. And we've kind of recycled that as well, just like the air molecules. We've inhaled, exhaled all the molecules on this planet. I mean, we are part of the planet. We are nature. We are nature.
Herzlich willkommen bei Wäschle will's wissen, this time in English again, because this guy, my next guest, he's probably one of the most well-known guys in Switzerland, but no one knows his face, but everyone knows his voice. Because anytime when you hear a voiceover, which sounds like kind of BBC, you can be sure, or quite sure, that it is Michael Morris. Sitting next to me, so give a round of applause for Michael Morris.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Timo. Really.
Hey, how is that to be so famous, but only in audio, not invisibly?
Do you know, it's quite nice, really. I lead a very nice life. I mean, it's interesting not being known with my face. I mean, people putting, everyone's thought, what do I look like? And when they see me, I've been, people have compared me to, actually, when they see me, when they hear me, they think I look like Gimli from Lord of the Rings, or the guy with the axe, or they just imagine me as being somebody very different. And, when we hear something, we always put a picture to it. But this is the package. So this is what's in, the voice is in this. So...
Yeah, because it's quite amazing. Probably there's no voiceover actor which has been talking more for Corp Media, my company. We did about 100 or 150.
At least. I mean, I think we first met, 17 years ago or something? I mean, a long time ago.
Yeah, right at the start of Corp Media, we met.
Yeah.
And then you've been ever since, probably my first speaker and still on.
Yes. I mean, I've been working since... When did I begin working? I mean, in the 90s, I was in broadcasting. Mm-hmm. I became a full professional voice actor in 2003.
Okay.
So that's like 22 years ago.
And when you drive through the Gotthard, it's your voice as well?
No, that's not me. That's my mentor, Mike McMahon. He's the voice in the Gotthard. He's unfortunately no longer with us. He died last year.
That's a sad.
But... yes, I learned a lot from him. I worked with him in radio and in TV.
Hey, that was... I got to tell a short anecdote. Like, he's been here having a voiceover. And what was he, like 10 to 15 years older than you are? Like,
yes, 15.
He must have been like 80 when he was here, something. Hey, and what a presence.
Incredible.
Of that guy. Yeah. What did you learn from him?
Well, basically voice acting. I mean, I learned radio, because how to broadcast on radio. I started with shortwave radio, and I was doing like breakfast shows and things.
As a host?
As a host, yeah. And
in England?
No, that was in Switzerland. It was at SRI. Okay. It was actually Telefonrundspruch. Do you remember that? It was like 6 buttons that you used to have in hotels and in hospitals. They had these little boxes, like 6
too young
buttons.
For that.
I know, it's incredible. That really ages me, doesn't it? Anyway, there was the first button, which was called Channel 1, and that was all in English. And there was a breakfast show.
All right.
I think it used to belong to the PTT, actually, before it belonged to SRG. And so that's where I started. But we also did things for Swiss Radio International, which was shortwave. Mm-hmm. And there was a certain style to speak on shortwave, because usually the reception wasn't very good, and so
shortwave, kind of, the wave is short. It's not middle length.
It's Kurzwelle. Yeah. I mean, it's basically different wavelengths.
It's like
the sound
not
is
bad.
FM. It was shortwave. It's a different broadcasting system, technology. Okay. It's quite expensive, which is why we don't have it anymore. But the quality.
And you have to talk different.
Well, the quality wasn't so good. So if somebody was trying to listen to a little shortwave radio in Africa, for example, they wanted to kind of like tune into what's happening in Switzerland, or just like the BBC World Service or Deutsche Welle or Voice of America. Those were all shortwave radios. basically, because it was crackly and the reception wasn't so good, the idea to broadcast was like, so we have the microphone here, and you imagine the person sitting here. And I was taught also by Mike McMahon that I had to imagine a deaf aunt. That was kind of the person you imagined.
You had to yell at them.
In my face. In my mind, I would imagine, a deaf aunt who's really interested in what I have to say, loves me, but can't hear well. So I had to speak like, this is a really, really important message. Can you hear me? But of course, like this. But it was more like this distance. So it was very projected. That's why the sound was all very pedantic. This is the BBC. You know, it's a very different kind of, very. Yes, and you really broadcasted your voice. Okay. And then as technology got better.
And he showed you how to do that pressure.
Yeah, I mean, I did quite a few different, I was trained by different people. But yes, he showed me techniques and how to speak, how to talk, imagining that. So he showed me a lot. He was a great guy to have around. And he was also a voice actor, not just a journalist. And he brought me into TV as well. So I was coaching people and I was broadcasting, I had my own show.
What kind of show?
It was a mid-morning show on Swiss satellite radio.
Oh, okay.
And so that went also worldwide. By that time, shortwave was kind of leaving the sphere and satellite was coming in. Quality was improving. And so then this projection style became a little bit too old school. So people were starting to become more conversational, like FM. Mm-hmm. And so then you got closer. So this deaf aunt slowly sort of turned into a friend and then possibly a lover. And then you were quite close to the mic. And then you were imagining somebody this far away. And then you were just speaking like this. So it was like, like that. And that was the difference. And of course, the way you spoke was also changed. All that stuff changed. And it's still changing. So
what changes at the moment?
Well, now people are just talking. I mean, YouTube videos, people are just like, people don't really care so much, which is great because it's more natural. When I started, it was very much, let's make this real. Let's not make mistakes. Let's not do let's be very clear and perfect and not so natural. But it was more to break through the airwaves so that people would understand what you're saying.
Yeah, because the technology was so poor as well.
Yeah, it was a lot poorer than it is now. Yeah. God, it makes me sound old, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. What years are we talking right now?
We're talking about the 90s, the beginning of the 90s. So it's not, I know it sounds like I'm talking about the 40s. No, this is like the 90s. I mean, it's been getting better and better all the time,
What did you do in the 80s? Like, we can reference to the color we chose here.
Yeah. No, that's very 80s.
That's very 80s. Right?
That's very 80s. I chose that color. Yeah, by the way, yes, just so people know, yes, I chose that color because I was looking a bit kind of like black and gray. I thought this would brighten it up. And 80s. In the 80s, I was a studio drummer in Hamburg.
Oh, really?
I studied with Les Percussions de Strasbourg in Strasbourg in 79.
Oh, you studied drumming?
Yeah, with drumming, yeah. And then I went to the Swiss Jazz School after that for a year, but I was really interested in playing, not so much in studying. A friend of mine then called me up to say, do you want to come to Hamburg and record something with me? So I was like, yeah, definitely record something and do a record. So I went up there and I ended up staying 5 years in Germany, playing music and playing with different people and having a great time.
You also played with Mike Krüger, like the Super Nazi.
I did. I got a recording job with him. He certainly wouldn't remember it. I don't even know what recording it was. But I had a Simmons drum set, which anybody from the 80s would know that. It was when they first came out with these flat drums, electronic drums. And they were played on everything in the 80s, and it was very in your face. I had a set of those. And what was great was that you didn't have to mic everything up because it took ages in studios to get the drums mic'd up and sounding really good. And when the Simmons came along, you just plugged it into the console and everything sounded amazing. So you saved a lot of time in the studio, and also you could be in the mixing room with everybody. You didn't even have to be in your own booth. So it was quite a novelty. So I got jobs because I had this Simmons set, and I wasn't too bad as a drummer. I was okay. Definitely not one of the best there, but I did okay. And he was one of the clients. Yeah, I remember I was called up to a studio, and it was like, and all I had to do, because everything was in rhythm machines, rhythm machines were everywhere, and all I had to do were fills. And they didn't want too many fills. It was like, please, not too much. So it was kind of like you just waited, and then do-dum, do-dum, do-dum.
Okay.
And then you waited.
To shuffle it up a bit.
Yeah, just
not
kind
that
of like,
boring.
just so that we have a bit of humanness in it. So it wasn't that demanding. They didn't want any kind of like jazzy fills or anything. It was just like, we want this to be very straight. And, a lot of things like Neue Deutsche Welle, that's what came out then. So I was there really at the beginning of the 80s, Neue Deutsche Welle, all these bands that are starting off like with trio and da da da, and spliff, and just basically
all that sound the kids dig.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably all going to come back again.
It is there.
But, so it was a really exciting time, and it was really nice to be in Germany then, because there was this new identity of music, and it was their music, and it was being sung in German, and so it was a great time to be there. Yeah,
80s, I bet. Yeah, with the Neue Deutsche Welle and the punk in England.
Yeah. It was all happening. It was all happening.
Wow, crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to live in Hamburg too.
Really?
And I played in a funk band as well.
No.
Yeah.
What did you play? Drums?
No, I played turntables and the microphone.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, because I told them, I told everyone that we are a band from Zurich, and then they doubled like the
then it was like, we want you, and also
of course.
paid you. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, that was hella funky.
Wow.
That was really hella funky. But when I was walking through those streets of Hamburg, also in the Karoviertel, where the punk really rocked, I had some kind of imaginations all the time how that must have been in the 80s.
I lived in a part of town called Lockstedt.
Yeah, I know.
And I had friends sort of around that area. It was like Eppendorf, Lockstedt, and of course Altena's where it was all happening, and of course the Reeperbahn and everywhere. I mean, it's an amazing city, beautiful architecture, big wide streets and boulevards, and clubs, and everything was open all night and cost the same amount. That was very new to me. That a meal costs 7 marks at 4 a.m. It wasn't like, it was just the same. But it was, there was a lot going on. There was a lot going on there. Yeah.
But with your voice, you never sang.
I sang background vocals behind the drums. It was quite funny. I mean, I always had a deep voice, and I always sang, but I was quite shy actually as a singer. So I would play drums with bands, and I'd have a microphone, but the drums were also sort of like a security blanket. They were like a protection for me, so I felt very secure behind this wall of drums and singing. And it was really only after quite a few years I started moving to the front of the stage. And I have to be really honest, I mean, when I began to actually sing alone, just with a microphone, without any instruments, and just stand there naked, as it were, at the front, I was like 40. So it took a while for me to crawl to the front of the stage, and I played, then cajon and congas, and, so I did keep on moving. And of course changed all the genre of music. I was playing free jazz and, I loved all the styles. I loved playing everything. So,
but that's kind of, that gets through your biography, that you always kind of standing in the second line or third, like as well as the narration is also not like visible. It's also
I'm
kind
kind of
in
hiding.
the background.
I'm hiding
You're
until
hiding.
today. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. So
Is that your first?
I have a
interview?
feeling this is one of my. I mean, it's one of my very rare interviews because, like I said, I was working at Swiss radio and Swiss TV. I did a lot of work. Did things about Switzerland for TV stations around the world, for CNN, for China television, for everywhere, doing reports. But I was always behind the camera and interviewing people. So yeah, this is the other way around. So we're flipping the script here, and it's about time, I guess. So
I
here I am.
think.
So whatever that means. But anyway, it's a pleasure to be with you, Timo.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be with you. But yeah, come out of your shell.
Yeah, I mean, I've been, I haven't really felt the urge. I mean, on stage, I really enjoy it. But yeah, coming out of my shell, yeah, maybe that's, well, anyway, so I'm coming out.
Yeah.
Here I am.
Yeah,
Here I am.
definitely.
Yeah.
How long are you in Switzerland?
I've been in Switzerland a long time. I've been in and out of Switzerland, but really a long time. Span.
Het Baan.
Span. Und ich habe auch ein bisschen Bahndeutsch.
Dat verriks.
Ja, ich habe auch ein bisschen Bahndeutsch.
Dat verriks.
Mein Hochdeutsch habe ich in England gelernt, in der Schule.
Okay.
Aber Bahndeutsch, das habe ich in der Schweiz gelernt.
Das kannst du wirklich.
Ja, nicht 100%, aber nicht schlecht.
But it's amazing, right? No one ever, or rare, not so many people know that you're
I don't
Bahndeutsch.
hide it. I mean, there are a lot of people I speak Swiss German too, but first of all, most people like to speak English with me.
Of course,
and
because it sounds so nice.
Yeah, and when I introduce myself, they don't really think I speak anything else, and they definitely don't think I speak Swiss German. I do say I speak Swiss German, and they just kind of go. So, I mean, I'll start speaking Swiss German, but it always goes back into English and or High German even. So, I think in English. It's definitely my language. I can express myself better in English. Aber Schweizerdeutsch, Bahndeutsch,
How come? Wieso kannst du Schweizerdeutsch? How come?
Because, well, the family moved from London to Switzerland. So my family moved over here. I've got two sisters.
You've been, what age was that?
I was born here. It was like 6.
Oh, they moved and you were born here.
They moved about 3 months before I was born, 6 months before I was born. I was actually made in England and produced in Switzerland.
Okay.
So, my sisters were like 6 and 9, I think. That was their age, and came over and just lived in this very little English bubble in outside Bern.
Yeah, like the expats do today.
Yeah, that's right. We were expats.
Yeah.
And
why don't they mingle that much?
Well, I think my mother found it very difficult to speak the language. She found German very difficult. My dad wasn't bad. I mean, we spoke High German. We did mix. We did know people, but it was so different, mentality-wise. It was very, very different.
Why? What
was the difference? I think... I mean, what was very funny, I got a wonderful story about how it was, is that when I was very small, my mother saw that on the 6th of January, they had these 3 king cakes at the bakery with a crown. Yeah, and she thought, well, this must be a festivity in Switzerland because, it's a big thing. And so she thought it would be a good idea to get the people, the neighbors, to come over and celebrate the 3 Kings Day. Why not? And so she got like a couple of these cakes and crowns. All the kids came over, but it was very English. It was like with tea, high tea, buns, cakes,
and gin.
Gin probably for the adults. I can't remember, but probably yeah. But then also tish bomben, and basically it was a complete kind of cultural mishmash. And so all these people came and celebrated, and we did this every year. It was a great thing, and everyone was a king in the end, or queen, and it was a great party. It was like a whole Sunday or whatever it was. And it was nearly 20 years later that she found out that people don't celebrate Three Kings Day. And she was like, what? I mean, what do you mean you don't celebrate it? It was like, we just have this at the bakery, but nobody celebrates it. It's like you just sit there, eat it. Whoever has that plastic king puts the crown on, and that's it. So all these people thought this was an amazing English tradition. You know, it's just like, wow, you know, you have tea and cakes and, you know, tish bombs, and they thought it was an incredible English tradition.
It's hella cool.
It's very funny because in England we don't do that. So
hey, you started a new tradition.
possibly, I don't know who else does that, but
hey, no one. I never heard of that. You started a new tradition.
Yeah. I thought
so
it was
why
very
not?
funny. Why not? I mean, we thought, well, why do we have this cake and a crown?
Hey, we celebrate everything. We celebrate like Female Day. We celebrate Dogs
but
Day.
Not
We
Kings
celebrate
Day. The Three Kings Day, because we thought it was quite a novel thing to have a cake for the Three Kings. That was like, I think in England, all you do is take the tree down, the decorations.
Hey, in tradition, you should bring that up again in Mood at your home. I'll invite myself.
Yeah. Well, look, please, anyone, start Three Kings Day.
Yeah, celebrate every day.
Or Three Queens Day, maybe. Or
of course.
three royal days, maybe.
Yeah, or whatever. Because I really like the idea that everyone is a king or a queen at the end.
Yeah. I mean, you didn't want to leave anyone out because it was always going to be, 90% of the kids in tears because they weren't the king or the queen.
Yeah, of course. So then you
let's all just
buy a bunch of
we just got a whole bunch of crowns.
Crowns.
Right.
And then everyone walks out.
Yeah, everyone's happy.
Yeah, and everyone can celebrate the King's or Queen's Day the next day too.
That's right.
We could celebrate every day.
And it was
Kings
like,
and Queens.
And it was like, you English people, you do it the right way.
Yeah, that's so great. Yeah, I would definitely come to your Three Kings.
Yeah,
party.
okay, maybe I have to start that. To be honest, it began with my mother and up to now ended there as well.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
But it might be something to start.
Tradition in memoriam or whatever.
Yeah,
know, that would be.
That was kind of the English environment. It was very English. We lived in a very English way, and it was. I mean, my parents they lived in India, and so it was very international, and we just traveled. They traveled a lot, and so yeah.
But why Switzerland then?
My dad got a job. He had tuberculosis. He was working in the UK, and they thought it would be a good idea to go to Switzerland because of the air.
Yeah.
And then he thought, well, okay, why don't I do that? And
many guys.
He'd studied in Bern and Zurich. He and as well in Cambridge as well. And he came over as a translator. German and French. He was pretty clever. I mean, that's the part that I didn't take from him. But he came over, and when I was a baby, he then studied to become a lawyer, and he became a lawyer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Many people came to cure themselves from tuberculosis and stuff. Frédéric Chopin as well.
Chopin, as well. Yeah. Okay, I didn't know that.
Came over to Switzerland because of tuberculosis.
Okay. Yeah, it was a thing to do, of course, in the mountains, but ultimately it was also to come over and have it was very nice here. I mean, my mother was like, wow, there's central heating. It was like everything was with coal. It was like after the war. It started so long ago. So
because there was central heating.
Central heating in Switzerland. I mean, everything was very. It was very modern and very nice. I mean, everything was very comfortable. So it was like, wow, look at this. We lived in an apartment. It wasn't like a house. We just had everything, and we lived quite a low profile. It was like we kind of were guests in the country. It wasn't like here we are. So it was like let's first see how they are, how the Swiss are, and then let's not be too loud. So but I was very loud as a baby, so it was difficult for my mother, I think.
Yeah, of course. Every baby's loud.
Yeah,
every baby's loud.
I think I was particularly loud.
But then the time came where you got more in the background. It got quite light-ish.
Well, when I was 9, I went to England. So I did my schooling. I went to the pre-Mars school. I went to the kindergarten and then the pre-Mars school, but I couldn't adapt. I mean, I was very English. I mean, I only spoke English at home. I did play with other kids, but I couldn't adapt. And I was like in another planet. And they basically said, listen, you should go or go back to kindergarten or something. And so then they put me into international school.
All right.
And then the international school only went to a certain age. It ended when you're like, it was up to the age of 12 or so. And they thought, come on, let's send them to boarding school. And so I went to boarding school when I was 9. And that was pretty crazy. So I was over there.
Yeah, well, you've been quite pushed around.
Yeah, I mean, I was flying alone, with one of those things with written on it, unaccompanied minor.
Yeah, I did that too.
And I
in the
felt
80s.
very grown up doing that.
Yeah.
So I'd be flying backwards and forwards. So I did my schooling in there until I was 15. But school was not my friend, really.
Mm.
I found school very difficult. On all my report cards, I had, he's a nonconformist and a dreamer. That was basically always on my reports. And my parents were like, but they were very cool. My parents were very supportive of me, of being a little bit different. So,
yeah. What made you so different?
I don't know. I think, I'd be sitting in the classroom and I was more interested in what the teachers were doing than in what they were saying. I was just fascinated I felt like I was in a different space, actually, to be honest. There were teachers who could get my interest and really go, but most of them, I just found them not that interesting, from what they were saying. And I didn't understand why we were doing all this. I thought, what is this? It felt really otherworldly. So somehow I got through all this. I kind of slalomed my way through the system.
But how did the ones then capture your attention?
I think it was more of, it was through the creative side. It was when they were being creative. And it was when I was given a certain amount of freedom in what I could contribute. It wasn't like, it's like this and like this and like this. It felt very militant. And there was something in me that was like, I don't want to go that route. I wasn't a rebel. I wasn't a loud rebel. I think I was more of a silent rebel, but they couldn't really handle me in that way. I was just a little bit, it was like, you're disrupting a little bit. We're not flowing. What are you doing? So, but I was good at sports and that was very helpful.
Yeah, and then later on you could do your creative side with the drums and the jazzing.
And I loved being creative. I loved drumming. I loved being in the forest and just basically I loved being just out there and being as creative as I can.
You mentioned quite a lot the forest.
Yeah, I love the forest. I'm a tree hugger.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I love trees. I love the forest. Every day I go to the forest.
Tree hugger, also in the spiritual sense.
Yeah. I mean, tree hugger. I mean, I don't go around hugging every tree, but I love being around trees. I like nature. I'm a nature guy. Definitely.
Yeah, but I could also imagine you're like really like physically.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to hug a tree. I mean, we need trees. I mean, without trees we can't breathe. I mean, we need each other, right? I mean, trees they exhale oxygen and we exhale carbon dioxide. So we need trees.
Yeah,
They're
we need
our
trees.
friends, right?
Hey, and I
know they don't think the same way as we do, possibly, but we don't really know very much.
No, you don't.
So
are you a spiritual person?
I'm definitely, I'm a spiritual person. I'm definitely more spiritual than religious. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you believe in?
I believe in life, I would say, just life. I mean, there's much more than this. And I think that we are part of a much greater web. I mean, like, to make it simple, I mean, water, for example. I mean, every drop of water in our bodies has been all over the planet. It's been through everybody. It's been through Genghis Khan, Jesus, you name it. That water's recycled. It hasn't left our system, but it's gone through us. And we've kind of recycled that as well, just like the water, just like the air molecules. We've inhaled, exhaled all the molecules on this planet. I mean, we are part of the planet. We are nature. We are nature. But we know there's much more to us. I mean, I think we are spiritual beings having a human experience. That's what I think, because it's like we have something that we know is greater. We don't know where our thoughts are. We don't know if they're outside, inside. But our bones and our blood, you know, if you have a rock and you have a bone and you crush them both to nothing, to powder, you won't tell the difference. So, I mean, we're made of the earth. But what we have is, as our consciousness, our spirit, that's what's within us, that is something else. And that's probably what connects us. I mean, what makes us that different to a tree, you know, if we're talking about trees, or a rock, or a lion. But we are very, very connected, way more connected than we think. And we just have to open our minds a little bit. It doesn't matter what you believe in. All religions are good if they bring you to the heart. And I mean, religions are great as long as, you know, as long as they're not controlling you, and not, as long as they're allowing you to be you, to live your light. So that's how I see it, really.
Most of the people would say, when you say what makes us different between a rock or a tree, is people telling the soul. What's the soul for you?
I would say that's the soul is like our higher self. I mean, we all have an idea. We're all like living in this mystery. You know, I don't have the answers to everything, but of course we all have our own belief systems that what helps us get through life. And I mean, I feel very carried. I know there's more than this. So I don't fear that there isn't anything, for example, because we belong to everything. For me, soul is, it's that part. Maybe you can compare it. For example, you have your head, your mind, that has to analyze things. It's like this and that. It separates because we
binary.
Have to, we have to compare things. I mean, that's the way we work. And in the heart space, it's more about unity, where everything is just one. And we sort of move between these two spaces, but most of the time we're in our heads and we're separating, we're competing, as opposed to being in our hearts, which is more collaborative and unified. So if you go into your heart space more, then that is probably, I mean, that is where I believe you're much closer to spirit in that way, because you're more, you can feel that you're more one with everything. And in the mind, that's the way we survive, of course, in our heads. So I think it's this dance between your head and your heart, really. And we're not taught that. So, I mean, we're taught that so religion has one aspect and school has another one. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are becoming more reflective and are just feeling more. Nature for me does a lot. So, I mean, me just standing in nature, I just think it's amazing. I mean, I feel that I'm part of nature. And at the same time, why not cosmic? I mean, you know, we're on this ball spinning in space. I mean, who's telling us what, you know, and every atom in our bodies, we're 99.9% space, you know, in our atomic level. We have a nucleus and then we've got a lot of nothing. So basically, you know, we could put our hand through our bodies if you really look at it. And if you look at quantum physics, I mean, we know nothing, really. We're having this extraordinary experience. And so feel free to think what you want, you know, is basically, you know, let's kind of get through this together. We're all on this journey, But I think there's much more to it. I mean, it's an amazing, it's a miracle, where we are. And I try to look at life through those eyes. That's how I like to live.
Hey, how amazing, Michael. Look, who would have thought that we get so deep? So you, yeah, of course. You say Dirk Gently on Netflix, like everything is connected. This is basically what you say.
We're all connected. I mean, how can we not be? I mean, through the air, through the water, just that. And what about talking about electromagnetic fields? I mean, we're electromagnetic beings. We are electromagnetic.
And everything
Our
comes in
hearts
waves.
are electromagnetic. I mean, you need a defibrillator, which is electric, to get the heart going again. I mean, it's fascinating what we are. So, it doesn't cease to amaze me. I mean, I think, the world is extraordinary and we know so little. But it feels as if we're all very much in our little boxes. And although I think more and more people want to explore that now.
So how do you teach, or what do you kind of advise to people who are disconnected or want to explore more?
That's a good point. Well, now we can get a bit woo-woo. I mean, not that we haven't already got quite woo-woo. What I do, to be honest, I'm going there. Yeah, I'm going there. I'm happy to go there. Yeah. No, what I do, I like to meditate and I like to connect. So what I do, I use my imagination, which is an amazing thing in itself.
Yeah, you can travel everywhere.
So I imagine like this star, like a ball of, in the cosmos. It's like a star. And I just see a light coming from it, going through my head and going to the center of the earth. And in the center of the earth, I imagine another star. And then it meets in my heart. And so I go there.
So you're the nucleus.
What it is. In a way, well, I'm just a part of it. Yes, yes, that's right. So I'm in the middle and I'm connected with these two.
Yes.
And then I imagine every cell in my body light up like a Christmas tree. All 50 or 70 trillion cells, however many they are. Each one is like a little power station in itself. But I can imagine each one lighting up. And then I also imagine a sound, just a pleasant sound to me. Like I just make it up in my head. And then I imagine every cell like an orchestra tuning the instruments. Each one, whether it's singing or a violin or a bell, just getting that one sound. And so in the end, my whole being is like,
is clocking in sync.
Is just syncing with this one tone and it's light. So it's basically a sound and light. And when I'm in that space, I feel incredibly connected with everything, with what people might call the divine or with earth. Basically, it's just a very blissful feeling. So that's how I do it. I just put my awareness into my heart space because what that does, it makes me feel very present. And I find for myself is that presence is like being at home, and you can do that with your breath. And if you're present, that's where your power is, and that's where you create. You create from the present. And so, of course, you're not in some mess. You're not entangled in some past drama or some anxiety about the future. You're really in your power, actually. So, that's what meditation is. People have been doing that all over the world. That's what people do. But everyone has their own way of doing it.
Yeah, people really do it different.
Yeah, and I think that's good. Everyone should have their own way. Who's anyone to tell anyone?
Yeah, when I'm meditating, I'm usually doing like the classical way, where I imagine myself the skies, and when the clouds are coming, I'm just not
like
sticking
thoughts.
to it, like thoughts, and let them go, and also thank them. Also thank them. Thanks for that. But you don't bring me anything to that moment. There's no contribution. Or you got to go now. And then
gratitude is great, and
gratitude is great.
Not getting entangled. It's when we get entangled with things that gets difficult.
Yeah, and especially especially what I reckon every day, also with clients and coaches, when they decrease speed a bit, like only because they're kind of getting or pushing their awareness to their breath, for instance, or that they really like start storytelling in a way or in a manner that they're training their awareness what to say and what not. Because way back in the days, there was like reden ist Silber, schweigen ist Gold, you know?
Yes.
And so many people, when they decrease speed, they realize, okay, I should now maybe shut up.
Yeah, or why am I speaking?
Yes.
Yeah. Where am I and what am I doing?
Yeah. So decreasing speed is, for me, is one of the most beneficial things of meditation.
And just being aware of everything. You know, I mean, I think so much is to do with awareness. You know, I mean, it can start with you feeling the skin on the back of your hand as if you're wearing a glove.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can feel your hands as if it's a glove, just that will make you very present.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it doesn't take much. But it's a place that you're allowed to go to, but we're not taught to do things like that. It's a bit woo-woo, but it's very healthy, and it definitely calms you down as well.
Oh, why do you say woo-woo?
Woo-woo is the word I'm saying. Yeah, woo-woo is probably because that's how it was called in the 80s, what we're talking about now. This kind of conversation would be quite woo-woo in the 80s, so I'm probably using an 80s expression. Just that not many people talk about it, but I guess they do now.
I think that those kind of topics really increased in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Maybe because of the pandemic.
I would think, I mean, the pandemic was, that was a bit of a wake-up call. Yeah. I enjoyed myself, actually.
Yeah, you enjoyed yourself?
I did. I felt that we needed change, and one definitely came.
Mm.
And I was going to the forest a lot of time to do that. Got a dog.
But you haven't been alone anymore in the forest?
What, with the dog, you mean?
Yeah, because
of all the people.
By then, many more people went into the forest because they had time.
Actually, not the forest where I was going.
Oh, really?
No. I'm where I go. I don't seem to see anyone.
Okay,
which is great.
Even then,
very rarely.
Hey, it was crazy. Like Niederdorf, you know, Niederdorf. It was like empty.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, it was so nice.
Yeah, and there were dolphins in Venice. You know, it was very, very different. It was it was quite amazing.
It shook up a bit.
Yeah, it shook the world. I mean, very unpleasant for the people who were suffering from it. I mean, I'm sure that a lot of people.
No doubt about it. But we don't want to go there.
Yeah, but I think it was necessary. It was necessary for us to kind of have a bit of a wake-up call, because I mean, we know that we can't just continue like this. You know, we're messing too much up as a planet. So
but so much cleverer aren't we now neither?
No, it's about time we did get a little smarter before we destroy ourselves.
It would. Like just lately, you know, I was like, no, I'm not coming to that meeting because I don't feel that well. I make it from the home office, kind of it.
Yeah.
And I sensed that it was kind of for that person. Okay, why isn't he coming in person? And I said, hey, I will be there, but not in person, more like a webinar kind of ish. Because when I think that time also taught me to be more aware of when I don't feel well, I stay at home.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. I think it really opened a lot of doors. I mean, everything being digital, I mean, it has its advantages that you're connected globally.
Definitely.
And I mean, I've got friends all over the world since the pandemic. But being in person and being together, that's something that we really mustn't neglect, because, you know, we need to touch people, you know. So I think just digital, I mean, that definitely has its place and it's a very good thing, but the human connection, we mustn't lose that. So, Yeah, I'm glad there's a bit of both, but it was quite difficult to get back into the normal world because so much is now online still.
People who do events told me that after, or especially now, like they're a lot more packed than they used to be because we crave for those connections and to see each other.
Well, especially right after the pandemic. I mean, everybody was out there. I mean, it was like, let's go crazy now. I guess so.
I think right after the pandemic, it was more kind of, I don't know. I think, or this is also what I get back from the industry, that now like that life experience thing is like I cannot wait for the summer to come because to go outside and I can feel that this year is gonna be like a blast.
I think so too. I think people are just realizing the preciousness of life, especially like that. Nobody knows if there's going to be another. We're going to be hit by something else, or there's always some. I mean, if you read the news, which I think is not so healthy, I mean, it's like the next superbug is going to arrive any minute. This has gone wrong, this has got wrong. I mean,
politics, geopolitics.
I mean, everybody's like in this kind of anxiety, buzzing, frequency, which of course isn't good. It's not a good place to be in. Which is another reason I quite like the forest. I don't have all that there. So I really think I think we just have to really know that we're here and alive and celebrate. And I think all this it's waking us up. I mean, they do say, and it's something that people talk about, it's like the big wake up. It's the big shift. So, and I'm sure it is. I think we are shifting.
People say that there's the big shift.
Yeah, I think there's a big like a consciousness shift. Yeah, I think there is. I think people are realizing that there's much more than this, and if they don't think there is, they certainly hope there is. That this can't be all there is. It's like, are you serious? So
the shift from where to where?
I think just a shift in consciousness of realizing that
to get into the higher self.
Yes, that we're not just little slaves of humanity. That we're creators. That we are each creators. We're like sparks of the divine, maybe, to say it like that, or. As opposed to these little helpless victims running around trying to make money to survive, that we're much more than that. And it feels like we're very much in kept in a little box. There's a system and we have to follow those rules. And I think people, there's still rules. We need them. Obviously, we have to work as a society, but it has to come from a much more open, loving space, and definitely not suppressed with fear and anxiety, and it's and I think there's a shift in consciousness, and that people are realizing that there's much more, and that it's also a way you think, because our thoughts, it's where our intention goes. We always have a choice. We can either go left or right, or we can go up or down. We can choose a good thought or a bad thought. We are creators. We can create our reality every second of the day, and we're not aware of that a lot of the time. So I think we're so powerful as entities, as beings. I mean, it's amazing that we're surviving and living here. This is extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, if you really think about it,
we're the directors of our story.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Now in the present, how we perceive this moment, and also how we perceive the last moment, if it bothers us, and so to speak, also how with our decisions, how do we create the next moment and even or the future.
That's why I think it's so important to be present and be in the moment, because that's where we create from, because we can't create from the past. We can learn from the past, and there are beautiful things in the past. It's not as if the past isn't good. It's just we create from the present. That's what's making our future. It's now, the choices we make. So what we choose this second is what our future is going to look like.
this is why I think since ever that storytelling is the most necessary, or the awareness of the fact that you cannot communicate with yourself and others. Storytelling becomes the most necessary skill for each and every person or being, just to create their story in an active manner. Don't get themselves also that much in a kind of victim kind of role, or is not seeing that they're able also to really create or change the moment.
I mean, the thing is that we've been taught that we're not enough. You know, as a child already. You know, if you have to be able to do that well, or you're not enough. If you don't do that, you're not enough. You're not good enough. You always have to be better. I mean, unfortunately, religions also teach that we're flawed. You know, we're a mistake, basically, and we have to spend our lives basically correcting it somehow. And that's just, you know, what a story is that? I mean, why do we have a story like that? That's ridiculous. But I think the way that people can express themselves, storytelling, you know, not everybody can speak so well, but there's so many ways to tell a story. People can paint, or they can do carpentry. I mean, story,
they can
basically
learn it.
It's about expression, isn't it?
Everyone can learn it.
And that people, because I mean, I believe that everybody alive has a talent and has something to contribute. And I think that's what I wish our education system would do, is really see the amazingness in each person, because everybody has something to bring to the table in some way. And that makes them feel empowered, and it makes them feel worthwhile. And wow, I do have some kind of purpose. I'm not a nothing next to all these guys or whoever it is, that they really feel valued and they feel that they're enough. Because I think that's probably the worst pandemic that we have, that people just don't feel that they're enough. And of course, all kinds of weird mental problems evolve just from that feeling. It's like, well, if I'm not enough, fuck it, you know, what shall I do?
But why do we lack as a system there so much?
Well, I think it's control, honestly, myself. I think it's, I think obviously there must have been, I mean, I don't want to go into conspiracy theories, but I do think that it has helped certain people that we think in a certain way.
And why is now the time that the people can be stronger or more in?
I don't know. I mean, the fact that we can just sit here and talk like this, I mean, you know, before that wouldn't have been possible. It would have just been shut down. So we're much freer to be ourselves. So that shows me that things are changing. I mean, obviously there were the 60s, you had the hippies and the 69. That was a huge revolution. It did a lot.
Like the hippies were cool, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a paradigm shift then, but it was a very dark time, and it was after the war, and the Vietnam War was going on, and you know, it was all this experimentation with drugs, and you know, the whole thing, that everything was you know, there were these two worlds that, you know, clashed, and of course that helped how it evolved further. Of course, then that changed that whole movement, you know, changed into other things, you know, then went into other worlds, into the punk world, into the, you know, but of course there are always remnants of that continued, but people's minds opened. And of course in other societies like India and places, that never changed. I mean, we're only talking about our little area, you know, the Western world. I mean, what was happening in other worlds, indigenous cultures, I mean, that was always like that. I mean, we're just thinking in our little, you know, little spheres. So, yeah, looking at the indigenous cultures, that's where we can learn a lot.
Yeah. Do you do that? Is that time consuming in Michael Morris' life?
I mean, what do? They feel the connection with everything. I do feel that I follow indigenous practices in a way.
Are we talking about Maya or which
yes, or
ones?
Maya or Aborigines or Native Americans? It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Basically just I mean, how did they live? They lived, you know, the Western world. I mean, how did they live? They lived, you know, the Western world. I mean, how did they live? They lived, you know, the Western world. I mean, how did they live? They lived, you know, the Western world. I mean, how did they live? They lived, you know, the Western world. I mean, how did they live? They lived they lived together. They lived in communities. They all brought something. They helped each other. They knew that they were only as strong as the weakest one. There was a way of resolving issues, if things. I mean, there were some tribes. I think there's a tribe in Africa. I don't know where, but if somebody's done something wrong, as it were, they would all gather in a circle and put the person in the middle, and they would sing their birth song to them, because everyone was given a song when they were born, or still are.
Oh, interesting.
And so they would just sing the song to them so that they would remember who they are. For example, that was a way that instead of like locking them up in a jail, right? So it was just a different system. I mean, there are indigenous cultures all over the world.
That's so interesting. Do you have another example of what they did instead of what we do today? That was so nice. Because it makes so much sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was just more compassion because, I mean, I think most indigenous cultures had something like that. I mean, I can't, I don't know exactly how they raise their children, but I know that it's very much, I mean, for example, well, with raising the children, I know that many cultures had it that the parents, they would go hunting and gathering, and it would be the grandparents that would look after the children, the babies. And so, of course, the grandparents also had a big role in society because they were the ones who were raising the children from a very relaxed way, because we know how grandparents are. They're very, I mean, compared to parents.
Mine are. Oh.
Yeah, well, I mean, most parents are just stressed out because they've got to do so much. They've got to basically work, get their relationship organized, and have kids and try and raise them. And it's learning by doing. And are we getting this right?
My dad with 80, he's still in that mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the indigenous tribes got a lot right. I mean, they are getting a lot right. And we all come from there. So, I mean, our ancestors were also indigenous people from somewhere.
Yeah, and so, they're like the elderly. They had roles. They also
so they were valued.
Felt
yes,
needed,
they're valued, absolutely,
appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely, and necessary.
Yeah,
and wise as well. They had a lot to give. So, and the parents, they were the ones making sure that everything was running. Enough food, enough protection if it had to be, or whatever,
Yeah, and that's totally different. Yeah.
I mean, now we have it really good. I mean,
and older people.
Society is great. I have nothing against the way we live. I mean, we're living it's amazing, but we are a very, very small percentage of people living like we are. So, I mean, if we have to really open our eyes, I mean, most people are not living like we are. And it's like in another space. I know that we could all basically live well. Maybe we'd have to let go of, a lot of material things if we wanted it to be equal everywhere, but we could make it equal.
Yeah, but you can change it, first of all, by your perspective, how you perceive things.
And also treating people as if they're you. I mean, if you're speaking about religion, I mean, that was one of the things, like treat others how you want to be treated. Yes. I mean, if we all just followed that one rule, we'd all be very happy.
Exactly.
But that's something that we're not following. So,
but
I think
it's all a matter of perspective.
Yeah, and if you look at others as if it's you, that would change a lot. And of course, if you would see that we're all connected and we're all sharing the air and the water, literally, maybe we could respect each other a little bit more.
Wow. You see where we
Yeah, we are going quite deep, aren't we?
Where we gotten? Now, I love it because you said, I think people should be more aware of this, and we are in the bubble making those thoughts, and this is, for me, it's kind of a gift for you, and also for our community, listeners and watchers and community. Like, really,
well, thanks for being a part of my first interview.
Thank you very much. I think this is it's been quite crazy. It's been quite deep, and I don't want to get it too fuzzy somewhere. I think that was really right at the spot. So At the end of every interview, I ask last questions about the lifelong learnings of Michael Morris. If you could give me like 3 or 4, 5 examples or things you learned throughout your 60 plus years.
Wow.
I know you learned a lot.
Well, I would say, yeah, I mean, now I like to think that I'm a lot wiser than I was. Follow your heart is probably the best advice I can give myself and anyone else, because your heart really knows what it wants, rather than your mind. We need our minds, but to follow your heart, I think that is very important. To live your joy as well. Do what you love, because by doing what you love, you're a better person and you contribute much more. You contribute the best of you. And every time you do things that you love, you radiate more and you've got more energy to do the other things that maybe you don't love quite so much, you know. But it's very, very important that you put time aside to do what you love. So to live in your joy, to live from your heart, and to love everyone as if it's you. I know that's a bit of a tall order, but going in that direction, you know.
No,
so,
don't make it.
I think, but that's the way I think really we're all connected. We're all in this together. We're all on this spinning ball in space, as we were saying, and this unbelievable reality and we are creators and we are sparks of the divine. And I think we should just go out there and create from love and joy, really.
Wow. Thank you very much. And thank you for watching. It's been so great having you here. Let me please, or give me your thoughts, give me your likes, give me your shares. Everything you need to know about Michael, or he wants you to know, is listed down in the description. There in the show notes you see a bunch of other stuff, and also once a week there's another Wäschle will's wissen, mostly in Swiss German, or then we speak in the language of my guest. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.